Have you ever noticed that mobs in Minecraft seem to be attracted to heights? Why do creepers persistently climb ladders and skeletons climb to the top of the mountains? What if their striving upwards is not just a coincidence, but a part of the hidden mechanism of the game? I decided to run a series of experiments to get to the bottom of this phenomenon to find out why mobs do this. And what I discovered shocked me to the core. Perhaps after this video you will never look at Minecraft the same way again. Let's go a little deeper into the theoretical part of how mobs in general work in Minecraft. Each mob has its own artificial intelligence. Unfortunately, it's not particularly advanced, it's not self-learning, it works the way the developers of Minecraft prescribed it to work. As is often the case, humans cannot calculate all outcomes of events and somehow manually write all the things a mob can or cannot do. In general, it's something generalized, like, for example, hostile mobs can attack the player, but passive no. Neutral mobs attack the player only when he provokes them. But there are also unique behaviors, such as axolotls that attack drowned or guards. All this requires meticulousness and understanding the mob's behavior. But what unites all the mobs? What is the behavior of every mob in Minecraft, regardless of whether it's hostile, passive, or neutral? That's right, it's pathfinding. The point is that every mob in Minecraft should behave in a neutral way. It should live, explore the area, perhaps even eat. Thus, the game creates the appearance that the world is boiling with life. They're not just dummies, they're the real monsters and animals that inhabit the world. The pathfinding mechanic is exactly what helps make the animals literally alive. Just imagine if an entity had no intelligence and moved straight ahead all the time. At some point, it would hit a wall and get stuck, or worse, just fall into lava. For this purpose, the developers have written special mechanics of movement for each mob to get rid of such mishaps. Of course, each mob has its own pathfinding, taking into account their game mechanics. For example, allays fly, axolotls swim, and magma cubes are not afraid of magma blocks and lava. But all of these mobs have one thing in common. They all strive to always climb higher. Pathfinding is an algorithm that helps mobs find the best route to their goal, avoiding obstacles and dangers. But how does this affect their desire to climb higher? Have you noticed that mobs often prefer to climb ladders or blocks, even if there are alternative paths? This may be due to the way the game handles roughly the cost of movement for different blocks and directions. I have 3 guesses as to why mobs behave like this. The first is fall avoidance. Mobs are afraid of falling from heights and taking damage, so they avoid sharp downhill slopes and prefer safer climbs. Second, finding a player or target. If a player is on a higher level, mobs, no matter if they're hostile or friendly, will try to reach him by climbing up. Third, height algorithm. In some cases, the algorithm may consider moving upwards to be more optimal, especially if the way down is blocked or dangerous for them. In addition, it's worth keeping in mind that mobs react to light levels. Some of them appear in dark places and may move towards more lighted areas, which are often higher up. Or conversely, when it's daytime, hostile mobs try to get to dark areas at all costs. But all of this is just my theoretical speculation. Could it be that the preference of mobs for heights is built into the game code? Or is just a side effect of their pathfinding mechanics? To get more definitive answers, we're gonna run a series of experiments. We'll create different scenarios and see how the mobs behave. Perhaps we'll discover something surprising and unlock the mysteries of their behavior. For the first experiment, we'll create a special structure to test if the mobs really prefer to move upwards. But the structure is not a simple one, but with a choice, up or down. There should be 2 clearly marked directions in this room, down and up. In the hallway, we'll place mobs and give them a choice up or down path. We won't be using base for now. We'll test both hostile and friendly mobs. Let's start with zombies. Placing one on the corridor, he froze for a while and didn't move anywhere. But for the experiment, I'll use the command tick speed. Roughly speaking, it helps to speed up the game, so it will make things easier. To keep each experiment short, 4 or 5 zombies decided to go up, and the 5th one decided to go down and go in his way. Now I decided to do the same experiment with the cows to see how they would behave. But this time I decided to surround our experiment site with lava so that the cow would not be tempted to go just to explore the flat terrain. The result was much the same. 4 out of 5 cows decided to go up, but the 5th cow went down first and then climbed up. Let's make it harder and release groups of mobs that are both hostile and peaceful. Maybe they'll behave differently in a group. Right off the bat, they behaved identically. They didn't try to go down where there was plenty of space or stay on the platform where they were summoned. The mobs moved up. Some just fell down due to lack of space, but they all piled up on top after a while. Despite the number, the mobs still wanted to move upwards. The first experiment gave us food for thought and confirmed the fact that the mobs are still trying to climb higher and higher. But this is just the beginning, ahead of several more interesting tests that will help us better understand the mysteries of artificial intelligence of mobs in Minecraft. In the second experiment, we will use the bait. At the top and the bottom, we'll place what the mob wants most. We'll test hostile and friendly mobs. We will start the second experiment with piggies, which are very fond of carrots. In our case, there will be 2 players, each holding a carrot. In general, the experiment is a bit weird, I realize that, but the piggy always preferred the player who was on top, if the players were the same distance. Even when the bottom player got up closer, the piggies still chose to go up. Only when the player in the bottom was clearly much closer, the piggy then noticed him and decided to approach him. Then I chose Creeper as a hostile mob. Same conditions, only this time instead of bait, it will be the players themselves. What was my surprise when the result was dramatically different? The Creeper always chose the player who is on top, even when the player below was closer. With each new test, the bottom player came closer, but the Creeper was unstoppable. He still chose to go up. Only when the distance between the bottom player and the Creeper was just a few blocks, only after that he decided to choose the bottom player. This indicates that the AI of hostile mobs may prioritize the vertical axis when searching for a target. But in my case, this is far from over. The third experiment will be, shall we say, extremely unfair. This time we will again test a hostile mob, in our case zombie, but his target will be villagers. We'll place them at equal distances, but here's the thing. One villager will be on top, but the second one will be at the same level as the zombie. What do you think will be the result of such an experiment? Yeah, the zombie will still prefer its target that is on top. The villager that was on the same level as the zombie survived, but after transforming one villager, he started transforming the other one. So in essence, the mob again chose to spend effort and climb up to reach the desired, rather than without straining, approach the target that was on an equal level with him. What do you say about the little helpers who have to be rescued from the evil and nasty pillagers to begin with? I'm talking about the LAs. These cute mobs have a unique mechanic. They pick up items in one place and throw either to the player or near the jukebox. How will they react to altitude, considering they can fly? The fourth experiment will build on the previous one. We'll throw some diamonds at the same level as LA and others higher, and see which pile he picks first. I'll note that the diamonds are placed evenly, with an even amount on both sides. There was no miracle in this experiment. LA, after being opened, thought for a few more seconds, flew out of the chamber, and rushed to pick up the diamonds that were on top. After that, he flew to the ones that were on the same level as him, took them, and threw them to me. It seems to me that it makes no sense to conduct the same experiment, but instead of a player, put a jukebox. The result will be the same. There's one rather interesting fact. Mobs can't look up. I wanted to do an experiment where I create a spiral staircase of ordinary blocks, place zombies at the bottom and villagers at the top, but nothing happened. The zombie didn't react in any way, even changing the height, it still couldn't detect the villager. I thought it might be because the block was not transparent and I placed glass, but it turns out that the AI of the mobs is so simple that they can't see the difference between any regular solid block and transparent glass. For them, these two blocks are completely identical. This way, basically the mobs will not be able to catch up with you or other mobs except for randomly just climbing higher. Next, we have the fifth experiment. This time we'll test villagers. How will they behave and will they generally pay attention to height? To do this, we'll go back to the first experiments and place two beds, one on the top and the second one at the bottom. As soon as night fell, the first villager preferred to go to the bed that was on top. Keep in mind that they are at equal distance from the villager. The second villager, realizing that the bed at the top was occupied, chose the one at the bottom. But here's the strange thing. All the other villagers I had summoned, after a while, went to the villager who was sleeping on top. Not a single one of them didn't try to calm down and stand near the villager who was sleeping below. They all crowded on top. Just in case, I decided to check the workstation as well. Which cartographer's table would the villager choose? The one at the top or the one at the bottom? You can pause the video and write your answer in the comments. Let's see if you managed to guess. Of course, he also chose the table on top. The second went to the unoccupied workstation at the bottom, but the third just tried to climb up. As you can see, the villagers have exactly the same behavior pattern. They will try to climb up for what they need, even if it's possible to get it by going down. Okay, we understand that the overworld mobs will always try to find their way up, as they find it the safest and most comfortable. But what about Nether? How do mobs behave in this dimension? Do they try to climb on top, given that a bedrock barrier awaits them at the very top? How will the Striders behave? Let's try to figure that out. For the 6th experiment, we're gonna start with the Striders. This time, let's say the Strider will be baited with lava, because when these creatures are out of lava, they become sad and try to get back in. So what happened this time? Strider is extremely slow, so we had to speed up the time. Eventually, this cute creature still decided to climb up to get into the lava. The 2nd Strider did the same. Even though there was lava at the bottom, they still chose to go upwards. What do you think about the feud between piglins and the wither skeletons? Why do you think they don't like each other? What is this that these guys can share that they have such a strong feud with each other? The 7th experiment we'll conduct with these mobs. As bait, we're gonna use wither skeletons, but the choice will be made by piglins. Although the wither skeletons were without AI, piglins still reacted to them, and of course, he chose the one at the top of our structure. Without slowing down, he ran up to him and dealt crushing blows. But what do piglins love more than hostility? The answer is always gold. These monsters will do anything to get their hands on this shining metal. So the 8th experiment will be something similar to the LA experiment, but this time instead of diamonds, it's gold, and instead of LA, it's piglin. The amount of gold at the top and the bottom is the same, but this time, piglin preferred to go down each time. As soon as he went upstairs, he would notice the gold at the bottom and would run there dramatically to get it. Of the 5 tests, piglin only once chose to go upstairs and take the gold there. We can conclude that piglins getting the gold is above trying to calculate their way up. Our experiments have shown that the urge of mobs to climb up is not random. Whether the mobs are facing a player, bait, or simply exploring the environment, they often prefer to move in an upward direction, even if it seems illogical at first glance. This tendency may be due to the features of the pathfinding algorithm, which takes altitude into account and seeks to find the safest and most convenient route. One of the key reasons for this behavior may be avoiding sharp downhill slopes and falls, which minimizes the risk of getting hurt. It also should be noted that the vertical position of the player or the object of attention plays an important role in the decision-making of the AI mobs. Experiments with baits have shown that mobs prefer to climb even if the target below is closer, which may indicate the priority of the vertical axis in their algorithms. In addition, the difference in behavior of the overworld and nether mobs confirm that each mob has its own unique preferences and limits, which also depend on their environment and game mechanics. What all mobs have in common, however, is the desire to rise to a higher level, especially if it involves gaining benefits or avoiding danger. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. While you're waiting for the new videos, you can watch these. They're also very interesting. Subscribe to the channel, put your likes, and click on the bell. See you in my new videos where we continue to discover Minecraft in new ways. So, why do the mobs go upstairs?